Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli back out here in the shop with some more good information coming to you. I want to talk today about a question that I get a lot from anglers, from hardcore tournament guys to avid anglers, even to people that fish just a couple times a year. I get the same question, which is, how do I pick the correct hook style? How do I pick the correct hook style for my soft plastics? It's a great question. And, you know, when you think about it, there are so many different shapes, sizes of soft plastics, from little finesse stuff to big 10-inch worms and everything in between. How do you pick the right style of hook? Let me start by telling you two things. The first one is there's not one hook style that can cover every situation. So you're going to have a variation of different hooks. So keep that in mind. The second thing is I'm going to show you 4 hook styles that cover about 75% of my soft plastic fishing. For sure, the 4 that I'm going to talk about are not the only hook styles out there. There are more hook styles out there. But I'm going to talk to you about keeping it simple, looking at these 4 hook styles for about 75 or 80% of all your soft plastic fishing. I'm going to make it simple for you, okay? And let me start with the one that probably all of you know, one of the most basic hook styles, and this is the offset style hook, okay? It's the offset style hook. And when you look at this style hook, the offset has just a little bend in the top of that hook where the eye attaches to the line. So it's not a straight shank. It's not a big giant gap. We're going to talk about those in a second. It's just a regular offset. And there's that little offset at the nose of the bait. And for me, I'm going to select an offset style hook when I'm Texas rigging thinner plastic baits. Okay? So one of my main criteria for which of these hook styles I'm picking is the thickness of the soft plastic. So a regular offset, I'm going to use on thinner style plastics, right? A plastic like a plastic lizard that's very thin. A thin minnow style bait, but especially the good old plastic worm. The good old plastic worm. And I'm talking about everything from 4 inches to 10 inches, ribbon tail, straight tail, curl tail. I prefer a regular offset hook. And look at the reason why. A regular worm, a traditional plastic worm, no matter what kind of tail type, the body isn't all that thick. It's kind of thin. This is a Berkeley Power Bait bottom hopper. This is a 6 1/4 inch bait. And I'm going to Texas rig it for you. If anybody's watching doesn't know the Texas rig, pretty easy. You go in the nose about 1/8 of an inch, you pull it out, and you're going to go around that offset to make that bait straight. When it goes around that offset, it gives you an angle to keep the bait straight and Texas rig it in the body. But look at that. A regular offset hook for thinner plastics matches the body of the worm. It doesn't overpower the worm. So it's going to let it have maximum action, and you're going to get maximum hookup and maximum hook penetration. Okay, so regular offset is my first style. Thinner plastics, and especially plastic worms. Hook style number 2 you probably know this one too, is the EWG style hook. And that stands for Extra Wide Gap. EWG style hook. And it looks a lot like the offset at the nose of the hook. But here's the difference. Instead of having that more narrow gap to the hook, look at that big giant drop down, or that big giant gap between the shank of the hook and the point of the hook. That's the EWG, Extra Wide Gap. And when you look at that hook, you get a sense for my criteria right away, which is when you're fishing thicker bodied plastics, fatter bodied plastics, you want to pick an EWG style hook. Any of those soft plastics you fish that have a fat body, from thick swim baits to giant creatures to big fat tubes, they're all great for an EWG. So thicker, bigger bodied plastics, I'm going to select an Extra Wide Gap style hook. Here are two examples of some soft plastics. I just dropped one. We've got the Berkley Power Hog, which is a creature style lure. And then we've got a Berkley Power Tube in a bigger flipping size. And look at both these plastics when you look at them. Look how thick the body is on that bait compared to a thinner style plastic. And the tube as well. Look how big and fat that tube is. And it's hollow in the middle. There's a lot of plastic there that you got to get through. And so because of that, on those bigger, fatter body plastics, I'm going to use an EWG. I'll do a Texas reel again for you real quick. This is on the tube. Gone in maybe a little less than 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to go around that offset to the nose. And then I'm going to double back in the body of the tube. Keep it nice and straight. And as you can see, when that fish clamps down on this one, I want that bigger bite, that wider gap in the hook to get a better hook penetration and a better hookup ratio. Okay, so regular offset for thinner plastics like worms. EWG for thicker bodied plastics like swim baits, tubes, and creatures. Okay? Now we're going to get to number 3. And this is my must-haves. 75-80% of my fishing are done with these 4 hooks. Number 3, and you probably guessed this one too, is a straight shank style hook. A straight shank flipping style hook. And a lot of people just call these flipping hooks, but this is a straight shank hook. And when you look at this straight shank hook, take a look. On this one, there is no offset. There's no offset to that hook. You look at the bend, comes around. It's got a pretty good, nice size gap on it, but there's no offset to it. It's got a straight shank to it. And I love, let me say it again. I love a straight shank hook when I'm flipping and pitching. In my opinion, when I switched from an EWG style hook to a straight shank style hook in my flipping, pitching, heavy cover, close quarter fishing, my hookup percentage went up 5 to 10%. That's a lot. That's a lot. And I love this style hook. The great thing about a straight shank hook is that you can snell knot the hook. So when I tie my line, mono, fluoro, braid, whatever it is, to this hook, I'm almost always snelling it. For those of you who don't know how to snell a hook, keep your eye out for another in the shop talking about how to snell a hook. But I can snell a straight shank hook, which means the line is tied to the upper shank of the hook. It goes through the eyelet and it's tied on the upper shank of the hook. So when you set the hook, that straight shank pops up and you get a better hookup percentage. The great thing about these style hooks, and by the way, this happens to be a VMC heavy duty flipping hook. They have it at regular gauge. They have it from 2/0 all the way up to these big ones like this 4 and 5/0. But I love this style when I'm short range flipping and pitching, casting the heavy cover, straight shank hook. And I'm going to show you once again the Texas rig. You don't need that offset, the Texas rig. Look, I'm going to go in a little more than 1/8 of an inch inside the bait. I'm going to pop it up. My snell knot will be underneath of that. Everything's enclosed in the plastics. And you get a nice weedless bait that'll punch through the cover. Creature style, beaver style lures. This is a Berkeley Power Bait Pit Boss. Perfect for a straight shanked flipping hook. Okay, last but not least, and a lot of you know that I love to finesse fish. I'm going to show you a style of hook that I incorporate in so many finesse techniques. And this hook style has really eliminated some of the older finesse hooks I used to use. And this is a really interesting design hook because it's not a straight shank, it's not an offset, it's not an extra wide gap, it's sort of in the middle. It's sort of a combination hook. And this hook has replaced for me the drop shot style hook. Hardly use them anymore. This is most of my finesse fishing. A lot of it I can get done with this VMC Niko style hook. Niko style hook. And they have a lot of different versions of it. But let me show you this hook. And basically a Niko hook is sort of a cross between a straight shank and an EWG or an offset, right? When you look at it, it's got not a straight shank to it. It's got a little bend. It's not offset at all, but it's got a little bit of a bigger gap in the back here. Almost like the old drop shot style hooks I used to use a lot. But this is a VMC Niko hook. And when I'm finesse fishing with smaller baits and a spinning rod, this hook does it all. Generally, I fish it in smaller sizes, a number 2, a number 1, maybe up to about a 1/0. But I can rig my little finesse soft plastic so many different ways. I've got a Berkeley Power Bait water bug, so I can nose hook with the Niko hook. Look at that. Beautiful for nose hooking, open water drop shot fishing. I can thread the Niko hook. Look at this. That's basically just gone through the bait and threading it so that when you're done, it pops out. Look at that. Just like top rigged. And the other great thing I can do with finesse lures on this Niko is I can Texas rig as well. Look at this. My normal Texas rig. Perfect little weedless presentation. And last but not least, of course, I can wacky rig a soft plastic right in the middle. So hook style number 4 is the Niko style hook. Smaller Niko style hook for my finesse applications. Listen to me. Million different hook styles out there. Keep it simple. Pick one of those 4 styles. Offset, extra wide gap, straight shank flipping, and last but not least, the Niko style hook. That's all the hooks you'll ever need. Listen to me. If you like this information that you're hearing from these in the shop videos, take a second, hit that subscribe button. If you're already subscribed, tell a friend, tell a fishing buddy to subscribe to Mike Iaconelli Fishing and the in the shop videos. I hope you enjoyed this one. Good luck and good luck fishing.